Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
I found out that 4 out of 5 of my kids are not mine. They all have different fathers. Please accept my apologies if this is not a suitable question to pose to a substitute. I first posted this on r/relationships, but it was quickly closed down by a moderator who recommended I inquire on r/parenting. But I'm also looking for relationship guidance on how to cope with my wife, so I'd want to post a request for help here as well. First, please accept my apologies if this ends up being lengthy and rambling. I am not in the greatest of spirits at the moment. Over the course of the previous several weeks, my world has been flipped completely around. I just want to provide as much background as possible in order to get the best counsel possible. For obvious reasons, I haven't felt comfortable discussing this with my friends, parents, or siblings at this time. Background: I met my wife when we were both in high school, and we were married while we were both in college. We have 5 lovely children together, and regardless of what I'm about to say, I consider them to be a complete gift. Up until a few weeks ago, I believed that we had the ideal marriage. Typical high school sweethearts. We go out together, we never quarrel, and I feel as if my actions have embodied all that a loving spouse should do. I'm not saying this to paint myself as a great husband. For example, my job has always required me to work long hours, and I may not have always been there when she needed me. Rather, I'm saying it to emphasize that I've never thought our marriage was in peril. My wife has always gone above and above to support me and take care of our children, and I would never have thought anything other than that she was being unfaithful in the first place. My oldest daughter, on the other hand, just had an ancestry test. The findings of her ancestry test, on the other hand, clearly revealed that I was not her father. She confided in me privately, and she showed me the findings, and I could see she was obviously distressed by what she had learned. Of course, the first thing I did was tell her that she is still my daughter and that I would always love her unconditionally no matter what happens. Secondly, since ancestry tests are not totally dependable, the two of us agreed to go ahead and have an actual paternity test done together. It comes back, and I'm not her biological father, as previously said. This piece of news devastated my heart. I'm embarrassed to admit that I broke down and sobbed in front of my kid. The combination of finding out about my wife's adultery and seeing how distraught I was making my daughter by my reaction was too much for me to bear. I wish I had been able to keep it hidden for her sake, but I couldn't. Following this, I invited all of my children, with the exception of my youngest, to come visit me. I wanted to know the extent of my wife's adultery because, if it was a one-time occurrence, I may be able to move on from it. Particularly considering how long ago it occurred. Although my youngest is still in school, she is a teenager, and I didn't believe it was proper to inform her at this time. So I withheld the news from my oldest. It is with great sadness that we inform the other 3 of what has occurred. While assuring them of my unwavering love and commitment to them as their father, I express my desire to know how long this has been going on. I'm at a loss for words when it comes to describing how sweet their response was. They weren't bothered by the fact that I wasn't their biological father. Instead, they were distressed by my obvious distress. Their unflinching support has been the only thing that has kept me going these last couple of weeks, and I am grateful for that. As a result, we have completed paternity tests for each of the 3 children. Furthermore, not only are none of them my biological offspring, but 4 of my children are the progeny of 3 separate males together. Which, in a strange way, made things worse. It's as if she wasn't just having one continuing affair, but numerous affairs at the same time. I'm not sure how this contributes to the worsening of the situation, but it does. As a result, I face my wife with this information, expecting her to confess and seek forgiveness. She is defiant and refuses to admit. She doesn't even seem to be taking it seriously. She claims that the tests must have been defective. Is it all 4? So how in the world am I expected to take this seriously? I keep bringing it up, and she continues blowing it off, becoming increasingly more irritated at my insistence. When I bring it up, she will attempt to make me feel bad about myself. It goes on like this. We've been together since high school. Do you truly don't trust me? In the face of such overwhelming proof, Though, how am I meant to place my faith in her? Now that I've rambled on and recounted what occurred, I'd want to close. I suppose I might seek for some stray guidance by way of a few direct questions. Question #1. How can I tell my children that nothing has changed between us as a result of this? The way I have behaved, including severe breakdowns, has caused them to have second thoughts, despite the several times I have reassured them of this. Question #2. What is the best way to deal with my youngest daughter? I'm beginning to believe that our marriage is doomed, and I'm going to have to tell my daughter something. I don't want her to know the truth till she's older, but I also don't want my wife to lie and make me seem to be the bad guy in this situation, either. Question #3. Do you believe there is any chance, any way at all, that I could or should preserve my marriage? Do you think there is any possibility at all? I've been married to my wife for practically my entire life, and it's virtually difficult for me to imagine my existence without her. I realize that the solution should be a simple leave her alone, but we have 5 children together. If there's anything that can be done to salvage our marriage, I'd want to give it my whole attention and consideration. Story 2. My 26F friend 24F has been taking advantage of me for the last year. A friend 24F of mine 26F approached me and asked if I would be interested in volunteering as a friend for her future firm. I eagerly accepted since, after all, she is a buddy of mine. I wanted to be there for her in any way I possibly could. I put forth far more effort than most unpaid volunteers and even created movies, audio, voiceovers, and other materials for her. During this time period, the previous year, she never showed me any respect. Despite the fact that I had known and trusted her for more than 3.5 years, she began to alter once she began to get money from her business enterprises. She has changed her attitude toward me as time has progressed over the last year, particularly with the death of my younger sister in May. She began treating me as if I were a subordinate, and she treated me harshly despite the fact that she was not paying me a dime. Despite the fact that she was my buddy, she did not contact me once after I lost my little sister. I had to go out to her and inquire as to whether she still need my services, a red flag. I had already put in more than 3.5 years of unpaid labor at her request when I discovered that my efforts had gone unnoticed until it was too late. After traveling more than 80 miles to get to the final event, which took place on Sunday, I arrived late. It was all right with her that I texted her during my journey. I had stopped in order to reach her, to let her know I would be late. We chatted that night, and everything was good. She was even a little tipsy at the event, and she showered me with embraces. I received a reply from her 2 days later, in which she reprimanded me for being late, and said that she was appreciative of external services, video and audio, among other things, but that she was very disappointed in me for being tardy. I questioned her about why she didn't notify me the night before, despite the fact that I knew she was intoxicated, and she responded by saying that it was a professional atmosphere and that I should have known better than to be late. She then informed me that she was my employer and that I should have known better. I explained to her that my aims were to assist a friend and that I wanted to see her achieve success. Over the course of the previous 3.5 years, I collaborated on a number of projects with her and taught her video editing techniques, among other things. However, she expressed dissatisfaction with my response. Besides that, she insisted on my continuing to work for free, while she stated that I was her employee but just worked behind the scenes, and that she would still be my supervisor for no monetary compensation. When this occurred, she informed me that only certain workers were entitled to compensation, and that I was not one of them. I informed her that I was either doing this as a favor for a friend, or that I would be rewarded. She then informed me that I should resign, but that I could continue to work for her as a video editor and social media consultant for no compensation instead. I informed her that I was not interested in working for her unless she provided compensation. She rejected, but she nevertheless requested me to continue to serve as unofficial staff and to edit films for her on a freelance basis. I didn't say anything. Non-payment of workers is against the law in my state, California. Unpaid internships are against the law, and you must pay your employees the required minimum salary. We're still friends, but the events of the last several days have left me speechless. I'm at a loss for words. I'm not sure how I'm going to approach her about this, or even if I should. Should I keep her as a friend indefinitely?